to him about that, how he fishes shallow water, how he finds he's out of the way. I think weren't you guys out fishing today?
Kind of.
More like trying to film something. Pete.
Welcome to Bass University Live. I don't have the other screen on my screen, BTC. I'm looking at you,
That's
which is
fault.
why we missed the cue. Welcome everybody to Bass University. That's right. That shows we are live. Appreciate you guys being with us tonight. We've got a great guest coming on tonight, fresh off of his Bassmaster Open win. A veteran, a member of the $1 Million Club in earnings out on both the FLW Tour and Bassmaster Tours. He's won on the FLW side, and now he's got his first win over here at Bass, and going to his very first Bassmaster Classic as a result. So Cody Bird is going to be with us, but we're going to be talking about current. So many of the tournaments recently have been influenced by current, by going up the river. We saw Frank Talley do it. We saw Mike Huff almost win recently on the elites, and now Cody went up the river in a very, very tough Neely Henry difficult tournament, concentrated on current and triggered more than enough to win that event. So that's what we're going to be talking about: tough fall fishing conditions, fishing around current. Cody's going to be on with us tonight. And we also have a cool special guest, a friend of the show, Connor Cahill, really a local stud on the nation, the Bass Nation Tour, as well as, fishing a lot of the Buddy Tournament trails, just come off of a great win. And we want to celebrate that win with him down on the Potomac River. And I really want to just give a shout out to the nation. I started fishing in a club. It was an amazing place for me to learn and grow. And it's great to see that it is alive and well in a club called Five Alive, which is really breathing some fresh air into the club scene. So we're going to be talking about all that stuff tonight. And of course, we're going to have Professional Fish Ed coming on with his cool stuff, as he always does, as well as a trivia question. And it's going to be a great show. Hang in there with us. We got a great cast. I see GDP. Now I can see you, man. But I can't hear you.
How about now? Hear me now?
Greg was mouth breathing during your intro there, Pete. No. Sorry, Greg.
It's good to have. It's good to have. We're going to get these bugs worked out. Maybe not. Who knows? But
that keeps it interesting.
Good to have you in studio, GDP.
Yeah, good to be here, man.
Yeah, we're going to lose you in a little bit. You're getting ready to head back out on tour.
Yep, leaving Friday, man. Got a long drive ahead of me.
40 hours.
It's like, I think 21, 22 hours. Not too bad.
Really? Is it that close?
Yeah, the way I drive. I'm from Jersey.
Put the hammer down.
That's it, man.
Good. And I see Riz over there with you. How are you tonight, Riz?
I'm doing great, Pete. Excited for another Bass University Live. Talk some current bass fishing with Cody Bird. And then talk to a good buddy of mine, Connor, about his recent successes with the Five Alive Bassmasters.
Yeah, that's
low, Rich.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about yours, BTC?
Hey, I'm here. I'm good, I think. I think I'm talking into the microphone, so you can probably hear me.
Well, you got us off on time tonight. That part was good.
Yeah. No, it should be a good one, man. Like you were talking beforehand. This dude's got almost $1 million in winnings, and hadn't heard about it. Hadn't heard a lot about it. So it's interesting. Looking forward to getting him on.
No.
Yeah. He kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but making a lot of checks, making a lot of Forest Wood Cups, and doing some amazing work over there on the FLW side for a long, long time, making his living, like he says, throwing a little plastic worm around. It's tough to do. So yeah, I'm looking, and that one of the things I looked at, which we'll talk about it. 23 years between his first win and his second win.
Man, that's a stretch.
Man, that is a
It's a
stretch.
lifetime.
It is. They were busting my chops. It was 13 years I spent between wins, my most recent win. And we look. Do you remember who we were talking about who had a longer span than that? We had him on the show. Doggone it. Can't remember who that was.
I don't remember. I forget though. I remember talking about it, but I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I gotta look that up. Yep, that was. It was a long stretch. I swear, I kind of feel like that's where I'm at right now. Somewhere between 13 and 23 years between wins on the local trail.
Come on, you just got to win. You just got to win, Brian.
I didn't catch a fish.
It's a team tournament, man. You still won it.
That doesn't count.
It all counts, man. It's all mental. It's all about getting the energy.
No, it's in my head.
When you're in tournaments,
It's definitely mental.
Yeah, you and Riz, you fished another tournament this weekend. You guys are fishing every single weekend.
Yeah, that's the goal, man. I want to keep after it. I'm gonna get out of this. Yeah, we did. It was a little bit of a tough go. I don't even know how to explain it. Rich, take a shot.
we had 5 bites all day, and we lost all 5. And,
that was it.
Our first bite of the day was a
gorilla,
great big giant one. The kind you really want in the boat this time of year.
They're going to the scales.
And that one broke off, and we saw the fish, and it's tough to come back from.
Yeah, it was tough it's hanging off of a piling. Your line gets around it, and there's a 3/4 inch galvanized bolt sticking out the side. And
what were you throwing, Brian?
Pete's favorite Senko.
Oh,
the Petey rig.
Okay, just checking.
It was. I told Rich beforehand. I said I'm going to throw the Senko tomorrow. I don't want to, but I have to because I know it's going to be a tough bite, and it's going to be important. I had 2 rods set up for that exact rig, and that's what I got bid on. But
I think it was a good strategy. You guys, power fished and won finesse fish. I want to dive into that team tournament. We talk about it, BTC. We got to get to team tournament topics on Bass University.
That's a fact. And JK, our professional fish head, he's really good. Him and his tournament partner are really good. They complement each other and work really well together. It's something you got to figure out how to work well together. So
that's the key, right?
Yep.
I've seen it happen before. 2 really talented guys jump in the boat. You're like, oh, they're going to crush everybody. And it doesn't work out, right? They butt heads or something.
Yep.
And, and then you just got guys that just mesh, their styles mesh the way they think and, keep the energy in the boat good. And, they excel and excel.
Rich
so
was spinnerbait guy and I was Senko guy.
No.
It's pretty much what we went with, but
I've had the same team tournament guy for the last 20 years.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. He'd be good to have on here. I want to hear his side of the story.
Who's this?
Sims?
Yeah, Mike Sims.
Wow.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, we'll set that up.
Yeah.
Most marriages don't make it that long.
Yeah. We've never had an argument one time in our whole entire fishing career. Not once.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So why were you fishing with him this weekend?
Because it's New Jersey. That's my partner in New Jersey.
Okay.
We were out of state.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
You had Joe Hunt.
I had Joe Thompson.
Joe Thompson. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yep.
Joe Thompson.
Joe's just the nicest guy. He's so cool.
He is cool. He's so funny. I was laughing the whole time.
I bet.
Hey, how's he doing? He had a heart attack last year.
Yeah, I took him to the hospital last year.
That's right.
Yeah, he didn't look too good. I said, get in my truck, we're going now. Took him, he had a heart attack on the table.
Ooh.
Yep.
That was crazy. It happened during the tournament, right? Or just
I was fishing a tournament. He came out to see me, actually.
Yeah.
And he just came out, and he didn't look too good.
I remember that event.
Yeah.
Nation tournament, rained all day.
I just left my boat in the water and left.
Wow.
Yep.
How about that?
Yep.
Shout out to Joe. Good to see you
So
up
he
and
covered
around.
entry fees then?
He gave me a hug.
I figured at least like unlimited entry fees.
Yeah, right. Still alive.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to Joe and his top 10 finish. What, he finished 4th on the Potomac, the FLW Toyota?
I think so, yeah. Yep.
Something like that.
He's good, man. He's a stick locally.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
I ran into him in the up in Mattawoman Creek. We happened to be fishing in a similar spot, and it's always full energy. Love talking to that guy, and
100%.
Glad to see him up and around. But we have guys. We're going to be opening it up you guys want to talk about current, ask questions to our guest tonight or to the panel. If you're a Bass University subscriber, we're going to hook you up with some cool stuff. How about it, Riz?
That's right, Pete. As always, we're going to be taking questions all night long on the bassu.tv/live message board. And anybody that gets a question through to the show tonight is going to get hooked up with some awesome baits. We got some Rapala baits on the table here, some shad wraps, some missile jigs. So anybody that gets a question through to the show tonight, you're getting some baits and some Bass University official gear sent your way. Now, the key to that, guys, is to get your questions answered on the show, you have to be on bassu.tv/live. So if you're not already signed up, now's a great time to join the program. Use the code BULive30. That'll get you 30 days unlimited access to our entire website, over 700 of the best bass fishing instructional videos on the internet. Our goal is to help you catch more big bass. Now, if you're over on Facebook and you're over there just milling around, you're not going to come over, that's fine. We're still going to hook you up too. Make sure you like and share tonight's Facebook feed, and you're going to be entered in for a chance to win a $50 Flambeau and Missile Jigs gift pack. So like and share tonight's feed. Get entered in to win a prize at the end of the show. Now, also, at the end of the show, we're going to have a grand prize trivia question provided to us by none other than Ken Duke. That grand prize trivia question is a Rapala, Missile Jigs, TH Marine, and Flambeau prize pack valued at $100. So, guys, take advantage of the code BULive30 now. Get signed up for the program. Get your questions through to the show tonight and get a chance to win that awesome prize pack.
Outstanding. And like us and share us, like Riz said, if you're watching over on Facebook. And we look forward to having all your questions here tonight. And Riz, I want to throw it back to you, to IMs. Who's watching us already for Bass U tonight?
That's right. We got a lot of people tuning in. We got Wild Bill, Buck Stronghold, Caesar Casanova, Lee C., Alabama Mike Reed, New York Chris, Dale Jr., Bill Toohey, Bernie from Deptford, Team No Fish, Dave Hall, Nate Coy, Matt Lane, Grattan Fishing, and many, many more. So, guys, we appreciate you being on the message board. A lot of these guys are going to get a chance to win a prize tonight. If you're not already signed up, head over there now, get signed up, use code BULive30.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back. We're going to be with millionaire, a $1 million tournament winner, Cody Bird, fresh off of his open win, talking about fishing up the river, talking about fishing around current, and especially in tough fall fishing conditions like we have all over the country right now. We'll be right back with more Bass University Live.
Why do you love casting fishing rod?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA. Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out there in a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worman series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom, goes the dynamite.
Every moment on the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together, the One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse. Everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant.
Some have been more successful than others.
Giant.
The finesse fingernail.
Happens every time.
The chain gang.
Broke it off.
The crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter.
Not good.
Motor oil.
Gotta keep the rust off all these baits.
WD-40.
Gotta keep the rust off.
Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau tackle storage systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.
Year in that.
Hey, Cody, let me interrupt you for a second because we're having a great conversation, guys, and we're back live on the air. We were talking in the green room, in the waiting room, and talking about a lot of great stuff. He's got a lot of great history. He's been doing this a long time, and let me introduce him. He's part of the $1 Million Earnings Club. He's won on the FLW side, now recently won the Bassmaster side, 5-time Cup qualifier. And going to be going to the Bassmaster Classic this year. Winner down there at Neely Henry just this past weekend, Cody Bird.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. It felt good.
it looked good. It was that was an incredibly challenging tournament.
It really was, man. I struggled the first few days in practice, and I didn't really want to even go to the river because I figured that lake's really small for a tournament that size. And there's so many boats, and I figured they had that river beat down. And the last day of practice, I went up there late in the evening, or the next last day, and they were really running water. And man, it was easy to me. I could pick them off, in the currents, every current break that you could find. You could catch a fish. And I knew the next morning they had shut that water down, so I went back for that little 4-hour practice you had the last day, and I caught 4 just running a lot of stuff, and I went like 15 miles up it running, this and that. And I figured out I could catch a few doing it, even when they wasn't running the water. In the same places, the fish hang around them same current breaks when the water's not running, but they really feed when it is.
Yeah, well, we saw you do that, and that was it's amazing because I was talking about it in the build-up for the show. We saw Frank Talley, on the elites go up the river to win at Gunnersville, where nobody thought it could be won up there, and he was doing the current thing. And Cody Huff almost won, took second. It seems like when you get in these really, really tough fall tournament fishing situations, you got to go up the river, and you got to at least look up the river.
Yeah, rivers are always good in the fall, and when the fish is spinning anyway, and at least they're closer to the bottom there. Because you're catching them. They're not very deep. And some of the fish I caught the last day, which won the tournament for me, were off the bank a little ways. They had dropped the water about 6 or 8 inches, and I saw it right off the bat. And I caught a couple of those fish off, behind current breaks off of boat ramps that wasn't even, on the bottom. And I had several big spots. I was fishing drains, runouts, what a lot of people call them. On the sides of the river, and I was fishing like stumps and then current breaks behind docks, mainly those 3 things. And the drains were really good, but I had so many big spots hit that crankbait right at the boat. I was wanting to take a like a chartreuse paint one of those hooks on the back of that crankbait, thinking they might go ahead and commit on that hook, you know, but I couldn't figure out where to get any at a hobby shop or anything by the time we got in. But there's no telling how many big spots I had hit it or I'd see them. And I'd try everything. I'd try to stop it, you know, about 3 foot from where I could see it and all that stuff to get one of them to take it. And every once in a while, one of the big spots would grab the back hook. But mostly I was catching largemouth, you know, up shallow. And the boat traffic really helped me. Like you wouldn't think it would, but there was muddying the banks up a little bit.
Yeah.
And the later it got, the more shad would start flicking around, you know, in that mud. And I could catch them up there in that mud, you know, around those cuts.
No kidding. That's interesting. Yeah, because normally everybody hates that, right?
Yeah, no, I do. I don't like to be around people anyway. I always try to get away from them, but it actually helped. There was some drains that was better than others, or I thought there was. The first day I ran to one, I'd caught 2 keepers just running new stuff the first day, and I went to a drain that I ended up the last day in practice. I'd missed one and caught one, thought there could be a school there. And I went there and I caught 4 good keepers the first day out of that one drain. That's the most I caught out of any place because I pull that trolling motor 80, 100 times a day. And I never got another bite out of that drain the rest of the 2 days of the tournament.
Cody, sorry, I got to jump in here. Did you just say you pulled the trolling motor 80 times a day?
I pulled it. Van Damme been proud of me. Wow. Either one, I promise you.
Cody, I'll fish with you anytime, bro. I like it.
Well, I like to fish fast anyway. I probably fish too fast, and I'm getting older, but I can still jerk that trolling motor pretty good. And there's a lot of spots I'd pull up and make 10, 15 casts and move on to the next one, you know. And then I'd come by a drain where I'd caught a fish or hadn't caught a fish, and I'd stop and hit it again, you know. And then some of the drains had worked one day, wouldn't work the next day, and you just had to keep moving all day to generate 5 or 7 bites a day.
Explain to me the term drain.
Exactly, that's what I was going to ask. What's a drain to you?
What the river look like?
Well, what is a drain that you're concentrating on?
Oh, a drain?
Yeah.
Or some people call them runouts in rivers. It's the little chutes that come off of the side of the river, you know.
Yep.
And some of them. I caught one the last day out of one that was about 3 foot wide. I was looking for new ones. Seemed like every time I run new water, you know, I'd catch a fish. So I kept trying to just look for new stuff. And the last day I caught one out of a drain that was like 3 foot wide. Of course, it started pouring down rain. And I thought those drains might get better, you know, because you're running that water out. And I thought they might work. But the last day they kindly shut down on me, and I had to go back down the river and fish more just current related stuff like behind docks or a big stump, and there was a few drains down there I caught them out of.
So those drains were actively running because they were dropping water, I guess, or because
they just hang around them drains and rivers. I've always caught them here at home and everywhere out of those little runouts, you know, and they're good. They're good in all rivers. Them fish always few fish hang around them. They're key places. But it's you know, it's just like even any lake to me. They're all about current, really. If you break a lake down or any reservoir or whatever, it usually has something to do with current, and that's what the whole deal was set up with current. It's just where they can get to ambush those baits and stuff, you know, in that current.
Yeah, no kidding. And I just want to give you I might try that. Have you seen that VMC treble with the little blade on it?
Oh no, I hadn't seen that. I had trouble with the action of my baits. I'm afraid to put anything on there because you know how you get a little piece of grass on it and it's done. You have to clean it off. But I thought I have a bunch of old RC 1.5s that that's one of my favorite one, and of course Takahiro, you know, and I had them painted, which Takahiro told me not to, and I should have never done it. But I had them painted a certain, you know, it was just a little bit brighter chartreuse, seemed like, and more yellow than most people use, and that's what I was catching them on. But I painted those, or I didn't paint them, I had them painted, and it made them all run off to the left just a little bit. So the whole tournament, I went through every bait I had trying to tune and keep a bait running straight to catch those fish. I think I ruined every one of them before it was over with.
Wow.
Well, it's. I think everybody now is going to go get their baits painted.
Well, it was probably just a mind deal for me. I fool with them baits all the time. I love to throw a square bill, and I've messed with them, for years now. And I had those, and that river really wasn't even set up for that color of bait to me. I throw 3 or 4 different colors, when I'm searching, and that river, I had one tied on from fishing the backs of a creek. It was T.O. chartreuse kind of looking bait. And that water was way too clear to be throwing that color bait as far as I was concerned. But when I got up there and practiced, like I said, I picked it up, started catching them real good. And I think the reason was they had been running up and down that river all day, and it was towards the end of the day when they started running a lot of water. So, it made it where that bait would work in that.
Right. Well, I also noticed watching you and listening to your interview that speed was the key, right? Speed was.
Yeah, it always is to me with a square bill. I mean, I always fish it pretty fast, but I even fished it faster there because that clear water, the water was, I say clear, it was clearer, and like when the mud was up on the bank, of course, it made it a little milky, but that's the only way I could get them to react to it. They wanted it fast, and they wanted it, if you was around a stump, they dang sure want it deflected off of the stump and the boat ramps and stuff like that. It was a funny deal one morning. The first morning I come around the dock, there's 4 docks together there that I'd caught a good one on in practice, and I went by there and I backhanded that square bill underneath that dock, and one come out and smashed it, almost jerked right on my hand. I don't think even touched it though. I don't know. But anyway, there's a big old bull there, and I waited about 3 hours, and I come back to those docks, and I decided to go down current with him to try to trick him. And there was a tree hanging over there with some shade, and I hit a stump, and I caught that fish. I'm pretty sure it's a 4-pounder that first day.
That's a huge fish for that tournament.
Yeah, it was a good one. I missed one the second day that was like a 4-pounder. And the last day, I fished for it 6 different times. I started on it. It rolled on my crankbait right as I was pulling it out of the water, and there's 3 stumps there underwater, so I knew it wasn't going anywhere. And I fished for it the next morning, and 3 or 4 more times during the day, and a couple in the afternoon, and my co-angler caught it the last pass I made on it.
I saw that. That was you handled that pretty good. I mean,
well, I actually thought that was it for me because I figured I needed about 12 pounds to win that tournament.
Right. It kept getting tougher and tougher, and we all saw him. Well, anybody watched live? Shout out to Bass for covering the Opens live on the last day. Ronnie Moore, a great job. It's a lot of fun. Ronnie's carrying that load all by himself with a couple cameras out there trying to follow the leaders. And I can't get enough. You know what I mean? I love watching the elites. I love watching that tournament too. And
it was so cool. My cameraman, I never pay much attention to the cameraman. I had a lot of them in the boat with me over the years. I know how it worked and all that, and that old boy was a game rooster. I've never seen anybody, I told him I was going to move 100 times a day, and he's like, yeah, I'll be all right. Well, that big 60-pound camera, that he's toting around, you pull it down, and it rained so hard all day. And every time I looked out there at that dude, he was on that camera. He never missed a lick. I actually sent a text in to Bass about it. I sent a text in today and told them what a good guy they had for camera. They need to pay him more, and they better not lose that dude.
Yep. They are impressive. They really are, all them guys.
It's no kidding, because we filming for Bash U, we go out, we'll film an 8-hour day, and it's exhausting.
Yep.
Tournament filming is even one notch up, because you're just constantly on it, man. There's especially like the guys that did the frog videoing, like I can't even imagine, in this last one, every single cast you got to be on the frog. You got to zoom out, zoom in, every single cast. It's incredibly, it's very, very hard work. So shout out to the camera guys.
Yeah.
Cody, question for you: How many bites are you getting a day on average?
I think I caught eight or nine keepers the first day.
Wow, out of 100
I actually
spots.
went back to the drain where I caught the 4 and caught one more, because they were like 2 and a quarter pounders. And I caught one more there thinking, that might not hurt it. And then I think I caught 8 or 9 that day. I think I caught 7 the second day, and I caught 5 the last day. I lost 2 the last day. I lost one in one of those drains. I hit a stump where I thought there was a school in practice, and I never got bit there the first 2 days. And I hit it the third day, and I hit a stump, and I think it was a big spot. I had it on for just a little bit. I didn't see it, and it come off. And then when I needed my 5th one, I pulled up to a little drain. I'd caught one in a little drain and went about 50 yards, and there was another one, and I hooked about a 2.5, 3-pounder and come up to the top, and I tried to lay her over, and she come off. And I was kind of bad worried right then, and then I run down about 2 miles to another drain and caught my 5th keeper.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, let's get into the mental side of this thing, right?
Yeah.
You've knocked on the door. You've been right there so many times over the years.
Yeah, I know it.
How were you feeling when you lost those fish?
Dude, I tell you what, I have tried every approach that you could possibly try. I've not went back to the fish the last day, and run new water the last day in the finals. I've fished the Walmart Open at Beaver. I made 3 top 10s there. I got 4th in a cup. I had a shot to win the cup. One Dudley won. And last year, I led a tournament 2 days at Grand Lake. I was ahead of Christie, and I blew that. And then, it seems like, and a lot of it's kind of the losing fish, man. I think I'm so nervous, I love tournament fishing so much, and I like the competition, and it's just such an adrenaline rush. I think I get too excited when it comes right down to the final. And even year before last, I lost the winning fish at La Crosse at Mississippi, the Bassmaster. I had about a 5-pounder on, and I had it in my hands 3 times. Had her pinned up against the boat, and I couldn't get her. She got out of my hands, and the current got me, and I touched her 2 more times, and I figured it up in weighing line, man. It like killed me. I thought I had that one, And I've been so close. I won a Everstart championship to start off my career, and it paid like $75,000. I won $100,000 my first year out, like in '98. But I thought I'd win 10 tournaments by now, And it's not easy to win tournaments against some guys. Those guys can catch them, man. And if you mess up one time, you're done.
Man, well, that must have been running through your mind. Like, what were you thinking on the way in? Like,
I thought I'd blown another opportunity, really, and I didn't even really know I had a chance until we was in the weigh-in line, and Christie and Browning and them was up there figuring it up until they thought I had it, and then I kind of got excited again because I thought it was over, before that, and it paid off for me this time, and it's just because I probably made more casts than anybody in the tournament, even though I moved a lot. It was backhand or forward, every time I reeled it in, I didn't spend any time messing around, and I jerked the trolling motor. I drink on the run just like all of us do and try to eat a piece of sausage or something on the run, but I kept it wet.
Man, well, 80 spots a day, man, that's hauling, running and gunning. And it just goes to show you, you lost fish in this tournament. It's kind of one of the things that I've, winning is a weird thing. A lot of times wins happen and you make mistakes. People say that everything has to go just right, but it's like a lot of times it doesn't. You lost a lot of key fish and you still won this tournament because you were so far on the dominant pattern that even mistakes couldn't hold you out of the winner's circle.
Yeah, and I kind of had a feeling after I went back and caught that big one the first day that I'd missed. When you start having stuff like that happen, that means something. I kind of had a feeling then I might have the possibility of winning the tournament, and I just kept pushing, man, until I got it.
Man, wow. And boy, did you get it! And here you go, man. This is a punched your ticket to the Bassmaster Classic. What a deal. And in your home state, right down the street from your house, you got to be over the moon with this.
Well, I really am, but believe it or not, man, I fished like one tournament there in the 90s. It was a slot lake, you know, all those years. So we never had any tournaments there, and I didn't figure they'd have any big tournaments there. And I fished a team deal there in the 90s, and it was just unbelievable. We had like 3 6-pounders and didn't get a check. And I didn't go back until I fished a tournament over at Bill Wilcox. He was a guide there, and I kept wanting to fish a tournament with him, a structured tournament, because he's such a good deep fisherman. And we fished a tournament like in April, and he wanted to fish offshore, and we didn't catch anything offshore, you know, in April. They were still up on the bank, and I finally got him to go to the bank, and we caught a few, and then I didn't fish there again until last year. And a buddy of mine, Rodney Hesser, he got skin cancer. He's one of my practice partners that nobody ever hears about, you know, and fishes with me, little stuff around here and stuff. We fish them evening deals for the competition around here where I live. And I fished a team deal with him, and we actually got to fish a tournament over there last year. And it was in March, I believe. It might have been in April. But I actually practiced 2 or 3 days last year, thank God, and run around in the timber. So I kind of know how to run around. We didn't catch them that good over there, but I kind of know how to get around a little bit anyway. That's important over there. There's lots of timber in that lake.
Yep. Well, especially for the Classic, because your practice time is so limited and all over the place. You don't want to waste it learning how to get through that timber.
Right, and I hit one pretty hard over there. I think I cracked her pretty good over there just when I was running around practicing for that deal. But it's going to be a challenge for guys getting around over there because there's a lot of timber, and I mean, a lot of it you can't see anymore. You know, it's just under the surface. But it's going to be a heck of a tournament, man. That lake's got a bunch of big ones in it, and I'm looking forward to it.
Are you is practice, is it closed or what's the
I'm not even for sure. I plan on calling them. The tournament director told me I was off limits to talk to anybody as soon as I won that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you can't get information, but I'm not for sure. I mean, I'm going to spend plenty of time over there if I can, if they let us, I don't know for sure yet that if it's off limits or not as far as going, and fishing by myself, but I will be spending some time over there, I promise you, and looking for the right stuff I think they'll be in then. Yeah, I think that'll be a pre-spawn tournament.
Yeah, usually like December 31st they'll go off limits usually, I think, for the Classic.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, usually. Yep.
So you're thinking pre-spawn. So
I really do because I watched a bunch of films. I'm a student, man, still. I watch all the films on the lakes, especially ones I hadn't been to on YouTube, and Chromecast them and watch them on my TV. And I watched a bunch on that lake, and it seemed like to me it spawns a little bit later. It's only an hour and a half or 2 hours from where I live, but it spawns later than what it does down here, So and we're having a little bit of colder winter, seems like, earlier this year, so I have a feeling that it's going to be a pre-spawn tournament. I could be wrong, but I kind of think it's going to be pre-spawn.
How do you think you're going to handle the Classic? You've been to 5 cups, 5 big tournaments. I saw you interviewed with Hank Parker a few times, and you think the big lights are going to be a problem for you?
I don't really think so. I mean, I fished the best, as far as I'm concerned, against the best guys in the world, over the years. And, I'll be more nervous about, I've had so many texts and calls and Facebook friends. It's unbelievable since I won this tournament, and they're all going to be there. And I'm going to have more pressure on me to do good than we even worrying about the competition. You know what I'm saying? For everybody I know, I hate to let them down. Like, after 3 weeks ago, I posted the first day up there at Dardanelle. I made the cut at that Toyota series, and I posted that I was in I don't even know what place. I was in top 10, 4th or something going into the last day. And I posted that, what place I was in. And then I made a post every tournament. Maybe I ought not to post anymore, because I blow it the last day. I get everybody's hopes up and then I blow it. So maybe that won't happen over there, man. I'm looking forward to that tournament. I've always did decent in the big events. I finished fourth one time in the Cup, the one Dudley won, and I did decent in a lot of big tournaments. So I'm looking forward to that tournament.
Well, we're looking forward to watching you. It's always going to be a big deal. It's amazing the kind of exposure you get when you win over there on the Bassmaster side. And honestly, what a great thing for you to have this win televised, or on Bassmaster.com.
Yeah, that's a cool deal they have going. I didn't like that stuff when it first started. Even on the FLW side, I didn't like it when they first started because they'd show me fishing and show the baits I was using.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like that at all, especially if you're fishing like one spot. I made the cut at Cumberland a couple of years ago, and they were showing the Ned rig. It kind of just come out, and I was whacking them big smallmouth on it. And I had a bunch of locals really mess me up that last day, using Ned rigs. And, it's really cool. You're never going to stop it now. It's the deal now, is that live. And I love it. You're the same way. And all of us bass fishermen are the same way. If you ever start watching that live, you're not going to get anything done that day. Because you can't get away from it.
That's absolute fact. I gotta put my headset on. I put my phone in my back pocket with live on, and that's how I've been able to get work done because I can't.
Yeah, and you drive and you put it up there where your speedometer is and leave it up there going. It makes when you're driving the tournament, it makes it a lot shorter.
The worst. I'm the worst. I'm fishing, and I have the live on the front, sitting on one of my sonar units. So I'm actively fishing, and I still have to watch you guys fish.
It's cool, man. Because usually somebody that's doing really good. One of our friends, and you want to keep an eye on them and see how they're doing. You don't want to wait and read it on the internet.
Yep. Well, speaking of one of our friends, I read that. Well, we're talking about it, right? The winner circle, very, very hard to get into, and you spent a lot of time making checks. And I read where you talked to Kelly Jordan about, at this point in your career, trying to retool your game to try to hit one out of the park.
Kelly was always one that swung for the fences. I run with Kelly for 10 years. We fished both tours, and then he kind of branched off to bass, and I branched off to FLW. But he's always, he would go for it every time. Well, I had family, and not to say that I didn't a lot of times. I made a lot of cuts with him, but he'll win the tournament, and I had to worry. I was more of a limit guy, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to get that 10,000 every single tournament, and Kelly would go for the win, and I knew that all along. But the last 5 years, man, I've really been fishing for the win, and now that I realize, that to me, just for a lot of young guys out there, man, my opinion is you need to go for the win every tournament, and I didn't really know that then, you know what I'm saying? I was more going for that $10,000 check for my wife and kids to be happy when I got back. But now that I know if you're going for the win, man, you're probably going to finish above, even if you have a bad tournament, you're probably going to finish above what you would if you fish conservatively.
Can you express that in? What does that mean? Like, how have you changed the way you practice?
Well, I haven't really changed the way I practice, but for a good example, I went over there to Dardanelle. I got that top 10. I just want to win the points in this Ozark division because I'm not from up there, you know what I'm saying? And I thought that'd be impressive if I could go up there and do really good against those guys because there's a lot of good fishermen up there. And I went there and got that good finish. Well, I went to Ozarks. I hadn't been to Ozarks since I fished a tour event there years ago, FLW series tour deal. And I got on a little pattern in the back of a creek on some channel swings, catching some pretty good fish, but you just didn't get a lot of bites. They were good ones. First day I went out, I fished the first 2 channel swings, never had a bite. Now, I was almost going to leave. I had a dock pattern going, and I was going to punt, like Kelly always said, and go for the limit. I said, I'm going to fish one more swing. Well, I went back to that last swing. I caught 2 5-pounders, almost back-to-back casts. Well, I didn't get another keeper for like 3 hours. I fished like 3 hours and I catch one more keeper. Well, I'm still thinking I need to go to them docks and finish just to get a limit. I hung around there the rest of the day. With 30 minutes to go, I caught 2 more.
Wow.
And I was in 6th place after the first day. Okay, the next day, I'm thinking maybe you ought to go run them docks because you know you'll be leading the points if you catch them, a few off those docks, you know. I decided to go back and try to catch those big ones. And I went back and I lost a 5-pounder. I got him over a lay down. He run up there and got into a snag, straightened out a hook and got off. But right after that, I caught one that weighed like 310. So it told me right then I'm staying the rest of the day and beat it out and try to catch a big bag and make the cut and maybe win. And I didn't. I didn't catch another fish. And it cost me, and it's probably going to cost me the points, you know, but I stayed there for the win. You see what I'm saying? Instead of leaving and going to those docks where, and I ain't saying I would have caught him. You know how fishing is, but I had a good feeling I could catch 8 or 10 pounds more off of those docks cranking a big square bill.
So
and that's what I'm saying. Hanging in there for those big ones instead of punting and going and catching a limit.
Resist the urge to punt as long as you can.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough because a lot of times you don't get as many bites, you know, and you're sitting there thinking, man, I'm going to fall out of this tournament if I don't go catch some keepers. Yep. You know, a place maybe where I've caught, you know, 2 or 3 keepers, and I think I can go catch, you know, 8 or 10 pounds just to have a chance the next day to get a check. You know, it messes with your mind too.
Man, does it mess with your mind? It'll challenge it. You know. Yeah. Do I need to go scramble and get a bite? To change the momentum? Is this pattern now dead? Do I need to stay the course? Those are the very, very hard decisions that an angler has to make, and you got to make it. I mean, you got to make it right then, right on the spot. And it's really hard to do.
You do, and then you have those little voices telling you to leave, you know. I mean, it's like a battle the whole time. And when you catch one, you know, it's satisfying because, you know, you made the right move. But then if you don't, you're telling yourself, man, you should have listened to yourself and went and caught some small ones. But I think that's the best way, even for young guys, man, instead of being, you know, laying back, go for it. Now, I mean, if you're paying your own way, when I first started out, and like a lot of guys, I was paying my own way, you know, and I had to get those checks. Once you get sponsorship, you know, and I've had really good sponsors over here. I mean, super sponsors, Skeeter Yamaha, you know, and Fun and Sun Boats, and now I got Power Pole too, and I've had a kicker fish bait. I was with them for 10 years, and they pretty much paid my whole way for 10 or 12 years, you know, and really grateful to them guys for that. But and you can fish it a little more loose, you know, when you know you got the bills paid. But when you don't, when you're on your own out there, it's a different game.
Well, you said a mouthful, and GDP, I know you've probably been in spots like this, but I've been out there where if I don't get a bite, I'm not going to be able to pay the mortgage this month.
And when I first started, it was really like that, you know. Mm-hmm. And I've had to stop and put gas out of the boat into the truck. I did it all. I slept on the deck of the boat at Kentucky Lake a full week, and I made the cut, get enough money to make it back for the next one. I did it all, just like all the guys have, and it's a struggle, and it's hard to go for the wins when you're in that position. You know, you're thinking, I need to get another check to go to the next one. I got electric bill and got car payment back home, you know, and kids going to school. And, you know, when you tell your wife you're going to be a professional fisherman and go throw a rubber worm around to make a living, you know, and she looks at you like you're not all there, you know, that's part of it too.
I think you're right. And I know if you're thinking about making checks, if that's what you're thinking about, it's going to keep you out of that winner's circle.
It does, and it works on your mind, you know, and even the points, you know that too, even fishing for points, man, will keep you from going for the win because you're thinking, man, if I don't catch them here in this tournament, I'm done for the points for the year. And then you have to wait a whole nother year to try to make it again. I mean, it's hard to go for the win in the tournaments, you know. There's certain guys that's just closers too, you know, Clun and Christie and people like that seem like it just come natural. And I thought it would for me when I first started because I set the world on fire. But man, the Lord showed me patience for sure.
Yeah, well, it was a long stretch, but man, you've had a good career in the process, and it's been great. Won over $1 million. And Rich, I want to let some of the Bass U subscribers weigh in. I'm sure they've got some questions for Cody about fishing in the current or tournament fishing in general. What do you got for us?
That's right, Pete. A lot of great questions here on the message board. Excited to get them going. Randall is the first question that we're going to use, and Randall wants to know, when you're looking for bass up the river in the fall, how far up the river do you typically start your search?
Randall, what I did in this tournament, and Neely Henry is a little bit different. I'll start at the mouth because the mouth is a good place where the current comes out into the lake, and it just always holds a few fish at the mouth of the river. But I mainly go by watercolor. I like to fish in just a little bit off-colored water because they're easier to catch and usually bigger. So I'll go until I find that little bit of off-colored water. Now, in this particular tournament, I went 15, 18 miles and the water started getting clearer, and that's where I turned around.
No kidding. The water coming out of the dam had better clarity.
Yeah, there was one section where I caught those 4 that first day that was dirtier than the rest, and I don't know why. It was a bend in the river, and I like a little bit of stain. Those fish feel more secure shallow, always, and there's usually more shad in that little bit of dirtier water, and I can fish shallow because in rivers I like to fish shallow anyway. But and I just look for that stain.
Gotcha. GDP. I think maybe looking up the river at Lake Fork. Does Lake Fork have a good feeder creek? I don't know, but if it does, I'm going up there for that tournament.
I've been doing my my Google Earth search. It's fed by, I don't know the name of it, but it's fed by something. Yes.
Right.
And I'm on the same thought process you are, Pete.
There's got to be a pattern in play up there somewhere.
Sure there might be.
But I'd be looking for that for sure. Yeah. Richard, who else is on our IM board?
Pete, Bill Toohey wants to know from Cody, how many casts were you making on each spot since you were making over 100, or since you were making 100 stops a day? How many casts were you making every time you were there?
It just depends. Like if I pulled up behind a dock that I thought and it had a boat ramp or something, and what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about pulling behind the dock. I'm talking about like if there's 5 docks in a row going down the river and I'm on the downriver side of that dock, I would pull up there and like if there was a boat ramp or any kind of cover there, I would throw out that maybe 10, 15 times, and then I'd jerk the trolling motor and run. Now there was one of the key fish I caught the last day of the tournament. I pulled up to a drain where I'd lost a big spot that hit me right at the boat in practice, and I lost that. I knew it was good when I saw it. I'd fished that drain every day and never got a bite there. And the last day I pulled up to it, and there were 2 stumps on the edge of that drain where it fell off into 12 foot or so, and the water's 2 foot on the top. And I hit both those stumps maybe 20 times before that fish bit. And when it bit, it almost took the rod out of my hand. So it just varied, but not a whole lot. Like some of those drains, I'd spend 10, 15 minutes. I can cover a drain pretty fast because I'm, throwing both ways, forward and back arm, everything else. I can cover it pretty quick. But some of those drains I would cover, I'd cross them, I'd go up it, and then I'd go back down it where I'd get a different angle at them, and try to get a reaction bite.
What kind of reel speed were you using and line?
I was using a 6-to-1. That's what I always use. I know some of the guys use, higher speeds like Talk used a 9-to-1, what he told me. And I use a 6-to-1. I can reel it fast enough to get them to bite with it. I always keep a full spool. It makes a difference if you don't use a half a spool of line. Use a full spool of line where you can get it on in. I use a 6'10", because I'm shorter. I use a 6'10", and sometimes I even cut them down to 6'9". And I like the forgiveness, a little like everybody else does, and some backbone down in the handle. Put wind grips on all my rods because I like that grip, you know. And I've only got a few rods left, and to me, on my rods, it's just all about not losing the fish. You know what I'm saying? If I get the fish hooked, I just don't want to lose it, and that's how I've dwindled my rods down to my square bill rod. Is if I lose the fish on them or not. If I lose a bunch of fish on one, I won't use it, you know. And it's funny that I'm getting down to nothing because I was getting sponsored by Castaway, and when I was at La Crosse in Mississippi a couple years ago, I lost 2 of my cranking rods up there. One of them had a pike and tried to kick it off in the water, and it hung my line and jerked one of the rods out. And of course, the current's going 90 miles an hour, and I lost that rod. And on the same spot in the finals, I pulled up there and caught one and was culling. And I guess I left my bait hanging off in the water, and it jerked that rod off in the water. I never even knew when it did it. I got up from culling, I'm looking around for a rod, and it's gone. So La Crosse got 2 of them.
Well, speaking, let's dive into it a little further. What kind of hooks and what kind of line are you using?
Well, you know, I knew you was going to ask me that, and what I'm going to say, a lot of guys are going to say you're an idiot, but it's funny. I'll get them baits out of the package, and I'll practice with them, and I won't lose any fish. And I'll go to changing hooks on them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. For the tournament. I've used Kevin's hook a lot on the back hook, you know, and I lose them on it too. I mean, and so I've gotten to where I keep a sharpener in my pocket at all times, and I use stock hooks on the baits. I mean, they're pretty good hooks that come on the Lucky Crabs. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I never lose them in practice, you know, hardly ever. And so I went back to that, and I've had pretty good luck with them. You know, I lose one every now and then. To me, it's how the fish gets the bait, you know, how they're biting that day, if they're biting the back hook or if they're really getting the bait or how hard they fight, you know. I know a lot of guys use a lot of different hooks, and I don't. I mean, I've just gotten where now if it's a stock hook that I can tell it's cheap, thin wire or something, you know, I'm not going to use that.
Right. Well,
I use 15-pound fluorocarbon, you know, Berkeley 100% clear. What I use the whole time I'm cranking square bills.
Yep, 15-pound. Well, that's going to help you get a little bit more speed with a full spool of 15-pound. That'll help you pick up.
I want to hear more about the rods you've lost through the years. Like everyone.
I tell you what, man, I'd give anything. I'd pay a diver if I could get them rods back. But the first one, I kind of lunged for it, and it was already like past the boat before I even moved, past the motor. That current was running when I was up there last time.
Well, Dr. Kayak owes us for getting one of his rods back the other day.
That's true, he does.
That's what you got to get, Cody. A kayak angler passed us, and one of his rods jumped out of his holder. He didn't know it, and it floated over towards. He has these styrofoam or some type of styrofoam stuff, floaties. That sucker was bobbing in on the top like easy to find, you know.
Yeah, you know, you say that the last rods that I rehandled with the wind grips, I filled them full of foam, spray foam on the ends, just in case that happens again before I put that grip on there. I don't know if it's going to work because I hadn't put one in the water and hope I don't have to, but I hope it does.
Oh, love it. Well, the Rod Warrior rod covers will float your rod. That we know. But, guys, check this out. Ott Defoe's seminar on fishing up the river is available on Bass University TV. This is what we're talking about. And Ott won in Knoxville on Douglas fishing up the river, and he's amazing at doing it. And go check that out. It's available over on Bass University TV now, in addition to what we're talking about tonight. And Riz, I want to throw it back over to some Bass University TV subscribers.
John Nee wants to know from you, Cody, what was your follow-up bait to your crankbait during the tournament?
I tried a couple. I had a brainstorm night before the tournament. I could catch some around them docks on a Ned rig. If it got really hot and slick and no current. And when that big fish missed that bait that first morning come out from under that dock and hit that bait, I knew she didn't go far. And I pitched that Ned rig right on top of her head and never bit it. And I backed up and pitched a few more times to her and never would bite it. So right after that, I cut it off and I put a shaky head on. A shaky head, Cinco's probably the best bait to throw back in on them. And I didn't really throw back in on them fish. The ones that was hitting me out off of those drains, every one of those drains are the same on that river. They come out there 2 foot and maybe get to 3 or 4 foot max, and then they drop straight off, every one of them. There's no gradual drop. And those spots that were biting it were out there suspended, and that's what I'm thinking. They were out there suspended in that 8 to 12 foot of water in front of the drains, and they'd chase that crankbait and hit it. So it really, I might have could have thrown a Cinco back out there because it float, it sinks so slow. That might have been a good idea to do that, but I didn't even throw back at them. I just keep cranking, and maybe pick up a chatterbait and throw in there and see if they'd hit it, but they never would come back, any of them.
Man, well, it's it was great watching you do that. What do you got next, Cody? You got are you looking to get into the elites? Are you trying to qualify over there?
Not really. I might fish. I'm 58. I might fish them 1 year. Especially if they kept the payback like they have it. Or you know what I'm saying? It's a pretty good deal, really. Right now, for the way they have it, I think you're only out about 18 grand. By getting checks, and that's not a bad deal for nowadays. The way it costs so much to go to big tournaments.
No kidding.
My next tournament, I leave Saturday, and I go fish the last one of the Plains division. The Ozarks division. I fish Table Rock, which it's been one of my best lakes over the years. So I'm looking forward to it. I got a second up there a couple years ago in the Toyota Championship, and it was the same week. And that we know that don't mean nothing, but it gives me a lot of confidence. I've always liked that lake, and got second there in a Bassmaster one time. Another one of them I thought I had won. But I'm looking forward to going to that tournament. It's the last one, and then they got that big championship this year. Pays $250,000 at Cumberland. I finished 25th there last year and made the cut in the tour event there a couple years ago. So I'm kind of wound up to go try to win another one. I may not, but I'm gonna give it 110. I guarantee you.
Man, well, I hope you can keep your momentum. I love talking to you because when we were talking off the air, I could see those old Bassmasters trophies hanging on the wall there from quite a few years ago, and they don't give those out anymore. So I got a few of those too, and we spend a lot of time fishing in the same tournaments.
When I was young, before I ever started fishing tournaments, I seen a guy, old Freddie Grant from Fort Worth. He had a bunch of his plaques over there in one of them stores, and man, I had to have one of them plaques. You know what I'm saying? Then you watch Nixon and Clun and all those guys fishing. Man, it got into my blood. Ray Scott talking all that smack. I wanted to get in those tournaments so bad, and finally I got, financially enough that I could pay a couple of entry fees to get into them, and I guess I've been in them ever since.
Is that all you've done for the last 20 years?
No, I actually paid for my house with bass fishing money. I'm in a new house. I say new. I've had it about 8 years, and I actually paid for this house with bass fishing money. But no, my dad was into concrete and construction. We had a new lake go in here when I was in school, and I learned that trade. And of course, we don't fish enough tournaments, really, as far as I'm concerned, to kind of say you're a fish for a living all the time, So, and I can't be still anyway, so I still have a concrete crew that works, and probably make a lot more money at that than I do the fishing, but the fishing's what I love.
Yeah, once it gets in your blood, it's there, and it's.
I'm a tournament junkie. There's no doubt about it. I just love the competition. I love finding the ones that other guys don't find, and I just love the whole deal. I love the guys in it, all those sticks. Man, there's so many good fishermen nowadays, and new ones coming up.
That's a fact. There's a lot of new ones, but I like that you won.
And he did it without a Senko, Pete. Congratulations, Cody. That's like a double win.
Yeah, that's my voice, Cody. It's like, all right, you're gonna have to bail on this and go throw a Senko. It pulls at me all the time. But momentum's key. You got this win. I'm sure it's gonna carry on. You got that winning mentality now, where you're focusing on the win, and now that you got all this confidence under your belt right now, looking for some more of this as you go down the road, and greatly appreciate it. It's awesome you took the time to visit with us tonight, and we're going to let you go, and we're going to be rooting for you at the next Derby.
Well, I really appreciate it, man, and I like all y'all's stuff, man. I know it's run by anglers, and I love that more than anything, and I really appreciate everybody that's called me and everything about these tournaments and congratulated me, and I just love the whole deal. I thank y'all.
Man, awesome. Everybody, the champ, Cody Bird.
Sir.
Thank you, buddy.
Well done, Cody.
Yes, that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was awesome. Truly a great win.
Yes,
and it's so hard. It's so hard to get in that winner's circle. It's like everything seems to be fighting you until you get in that winner's circle. And I remember when I won, I wrote down everything that I was thinking, how I practiced, how I felt, all that stuff, so that I could try to remember it. And it still takes years to get back in again. But BTC, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back.
Yes, sir. We got a 1-minute commercial break, and we'll be right back with the second segment. We've got a local guy, Connor Cahill, a Bass University subscriber who's had a lot of success lately. We've got a tackle tip from Greg DePalma.
Oh,
Professional Fish Head's going to jump on with his list. He's got a new list for us tonight. And our like and share winner, our grand prize winner. So we got a few things left to wrap up.
Yeah, trivia contest. Stay with us, guys. We'll be right back with more Bass University Live.
One thing that's happened that's probably advanced our electronics more so this year than anything that has in a while, C-Clear Power wiring harness. These units are designed to do a certain thing. If you're not getting enough power, enough wattage, enough voltage, they're not going to perform the way they're supposed to perform. C-Clear Power wiring harness fixes that problem. One of the great things about the C-Clear Power harness is it doesn't matter what brand of unit you have, it doesn't matter what kind of boat you got. The thing that you want from the C-Clear harness is power. C-Clear Power puts enough voltage to your units to make them maintain the performance that they're supposed to maintain. So if you're not seeing everything like you think you should see it, C-Clear Power will show it to you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bass University Live. As we keep working on our hand signals, we're gonna we'll get them tighter on the next show.
Oh my goodness, Cody Bird was amazing.
That was so much fun,
What was your favorite part of the segment?
Every word.
There was so much interesting stuff, and my favorite part about the interview is just his energy. Just loves it, man.
He does have it.
He's been at this a long time, and just still pumped about getting up and getting after it. I thought that was my favorite part. How about you, Riz? What'd you like?
All of it, just his verbiage, the way he described things. It was outstanding. That was one of the most fun segments I've been a part of in a while.
It really started when he called his cameraman a game rooster.
Yeah,
that is just outstanding.
Oh yeah, the camera went off us in here and on you guys, and I had all the mics dead. We were crying in here, and he kept them coming too.
He never blinked.
No, you listen close. There was a lot of gems in there.
Yeah.
A lot of Texas-isms.
Oh my God, it was
Now.
great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, Cody was awesome.
It was a surprise, and well, it was great. It was great pattern, great win, and glad he could take the time. And I'm really looking forward to our next guest, and talking about the Federation Nation. And
Connor's actually in the queue. If you want to go right to him.
Sure. Yeah, I don't see why not. Without any further ado, all right. I don't see him up on my screen, BTC.
That's because I'm in control here.
Yeah, let's bring him up. We're gonna, talk about the Federation. I love talking about the Federation because it was so important to me in the early stages of my fishing, and I'm so glad to see it. It's being revived by some clubs and continued, and I hope that it can get back to its its big prominence that it once had back in the heyday when me and Ike were both fishing the Federation and and that kind of stuff. So but here's a guy. I want to call him a kid. He's not a kid, but he's he's just tearing it up in the tournaments that he's fishing. He's fresh off his second in a row championship for his Federation club, 5 Alive, and I'm super excited to have him with us. Is Connor Cahill. How are you tonight, man? We're missing some audio there.
Turn your microphone on, Connor. We're off to a roaring start here.
How's that? You guys hear me now?
There it is.
Yeah, we got you now, brother.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. What's up, Pete?
Man, it's good to see you. You're looking sharp in all your Bass University gear.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That's an amazing win. You just won your second championship tournament in a row.
Right.
How's that feel?
Feels pretty good. I really I didn't really have much experience down at the Potomac this time of year, and I was trying to approach it with an open mind, and I'm still pretty shocked that I was able to do it. Last year I had a win on the Hudson, so I was pretty pumped to be going back to another title body. So,
did you have any experience on the Hudson before you won it?
I had been there for an ABA team tournament maybe 5 years ago during the summer, but I didn't have any experience, with that, in the fall, that time of year. So
yeah. Well, you seem to have a knack for finding fish in what some people call one of the most difficult times of the year.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. I just think it comes into just putting the time in and always keeping an open mind. I definitely try to do as much pre-practice as possible. Scoping out areas before, especially places I've really never been to or had very little experience on. So.
Well, you did this tournament on Potomac. I want to talk to you about that. I want to get into some of the X's and O's. You won down there. I just fished down there. I know how tough it was.
Right.
How'd you do it, man? How'd you win this tournament?
Well, I had definitely watched your the Bass Live when you guys were talking about that FLW event, and I know you guys were saying there was tons of grass down the whole river, miles and miles of grass. So that's kind of what I was expecting. Really, the only experience down the Potomac I have is, in the springtime, where you get big bags, the fish are fairly easy to catch. The grass is just coming up. So that was really like the only experience I've had down there. So going down there in the fall, I knew it was going to be different. And I was kind of expecting to see a lot more grass than I did. A lot of the grass on the main river, was really not there. It was pretty sparse. There was still grass in like the backs of creeks, the Mattawan where we launched from. There was a ton of matted hydrilla back there. And then, the Chickamuxin, the Belmont. I was kind of checking out areas that, I've done well in the past. I've had experience. And I really tried to, focus on grass, the first practice day on Thursday. And it really just wasn't happening. There wasn't there wasn't a ton of grass. A lot of the grass was kind of on its way out. And I think on the first day of practice, I got 2 bites, and, that was it. So going in Friday, I kind of was trying to switch it around a little bit. I started looking for, hard stuff on the main river, whether that be rock, wood, that type of thing. And it really wasn't happening either. So around, I think 10 o'clock on Friday, I'd gotten 2 bites in, a day and a half of practice. And I said, you know what, we got to change something up. We got to make a move. And I actually made the run to the Spoils. I know you probably heard of that. It actually has the Maryland state record bass that was caught in there. I think like 2008, it was like an 11-pounder on a blade bait or something crazy.
Yeah.
But I had never been there before. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? It's a winter hole. I know a lot of fish probably aren't in there yet, but they got to be heading there soon. The water temp was still kind of in like the mid to upper 60s. So I think they were kind of in a funk. They weren't, full fall feeding yet, but I decided to make that run up there, to DC, the Spoils area. And so that's what I did. I ran up to the Spoils. And in case a lot of guys don't really know about, the Spoils, it's 20 feet deep in the middle. There's a lot of rock. There's some wood, gravel banks, no grass. So I went up there, and as soon as I got in there was like 7 boats in there. And yeah, it's not a big place. Fish is pretty small, but, I drove around, had the side imaging on, down scan sonar, looking for bait, anything, that, stuck out. So I did I did a lap or so in there just to kind of look around, and no one was really catching them. So I decided to make a few casts in some areas I thought looked good. And I caught one. And as I was reeling them in, just to kind of avoid people, seeing me catch a fish, and I didn't want people to be on to, whatever I was doing. I kind of would have my bail like flipped open, someone was talking to me, and I was kind of trying to act like, I didn't have anything going. And so when he turned his back, I got the fish in real quick and unhooked him and threw him back in. So, and I was able to actually get another bite after that, and discreetly kind of, played it off, like I, wasn't really on anything. And I mean, cause there was 7 boats in there, but as I was in there, 3 would leave, 3 more would come in. So, and really not a whole lot of people were catching anything. So, it didn't seem to be like a ton of fish in there. So, I said to myself, these fish have to be coming in here soon, if not now, but they got to be looking to get, into these places. So I decided to kind of look for like transition areas that may, hold fish that are kind of moving towards, the Spoils, the winter holes. So that's kind of how I, approached the second half of my last day of practice. I kind of found some points that had, had some current, rushing by them. I found a nice kind of pinch point. It had some really good current running through it, high or low tide, and I was able to get some bites doing that. Couldn't get anything, going slow. It was all reaction baits. KVD 1.5 did most of the damage. So I had gotten a few bites up there, and, with that being said, I didn't have anything else really going. I knew there was some fish up there. So, during the tournament, that's kind of what I did. I definitely, I started in the Spoils. I would catch a couple fish in there, and then I would basically, run some of those transition areas, hit those areas on multiple different tides. It definitely seemed that that incoming water would get them to bite a little bit better. But, I hit these areas a couple times. That 1.5 was, it did most of the damage. There was also another area. It was like a discharge power plant area up, in that direction. But they were all areas, that were pretty close by, that I was pretty certain that those fish were, stopping before they, made the move into the Spoils. So
Yep. Well, it's a classic area, right? I practiced in there
Right.
for our tournament, and they didn't seem to be in there at that time. But you're months later, or like a month later, and there's no doubt that that's and the Potomac's wonderful. Like there's a lot of fish there, so when you find a place like that, they're likely to keep coming.
Sure.
BT or GD. I keep calling you BTC, but GDP. These three letters are mixing me up all the time.
Kelly has that same problem.
Yeah. She's watching right now too.
Yo, Kelly.
Go ahead, Pete. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like Connor's, got a good sound game plan for attacking tidal water.
Yeah, it definitely does. One thing, Connor, I can give you, you probably already figured this out, it sounds like, and this goes for a lot of BU guys listening. Once you basically get into this time of year where it just starts to fall a little bit, less daylight, them fish start moving quick, man. They're really good at that transition stuff, the stuff you fished. That's like perfect. You should have won if you didn't win. I know you did win, but I'm just saying, you targeted all the right stuff. And going to that wintering hole like you did, and you saw that there was fish that were coming, that just keyed you in right there. That's what we teach, man. That's class. That's perfect. Did a great job.
Connor, I want you to talk a little bit about you losing your first fish.
Oh, no.
Tournament.
Yeah, well, as Rich knows, my net was in pretty bad shape. We had a couple holes in the net with some, zip ties on them to keep the holes closed. But I was fishing by myself, fishing treble hook baits. So, landing them can kind of be an issue. So I started the first day on Saturday. I caught a fish pretty early, and I tried to boat flip it, and lost him right at the boat.
Oh.
So how I started my day. And I know I was talking to a lot of guys that were practicing, and bites were huge. You were lucky to get 5-6 bites a day. So that's kind of how I started my day. After that, I kind of, settled down and told myself, you got to fish cleaner. You got to slow down a little bit, and just kind of play those fish a little easier. So after that, I got 5 more bites throughout the day, and I happened to, fish clean and, kind of take my time landing them, and was able to, get 5 bites and, put together something, that was a little bit better than everybody else. It seemed like the fish up there were definitely a little bit bigger than the fish that they were catching down south in the grass. Every fish was like 2 or 3 pounds. So, yeah.
What were your bags on day 1 and day 2?
Not too impressive for the Potomac. I think I had 12.75 the first day, and then the second day I think I had 11.5.
Yeah, those are very good bags down there for this time of year. It seems like in another month from now you're going to be catching giants.
Yeah.
Right.
But right now that weight is still pretty stellar. So
right.
It's a good job. It reminds me of BTC. I got the initials right this time. The Ike. Remember Ike on Champlain when he was cutting his hooks out on the first tournament he won?
Yeah.
And kept cutting them out of the net, and then he nets a big smallmouth, and it just goes right through the net and the holes.
Oh, man.
He had so many holes, and that's what I thought. That's the story I thought you were going to tell us, Connor, that the fish jumped, slipped through the holes you had in your net.
I didn't trust that net too well. I don't really like using a net when I'm by myself. I kind of just trust, grabbing them over that. And especially with that net, I wasn't taking any chances. So
it's Saturday's Derb on the flats. Rich's net doesn't have a handle.
Yeah.
It's just a hula hoop.
Oh.
And but fortunately we didn't get any of them to the boat to actually need it. So it was never a problem.
Yeah.
It never hurt us.
Way to be positive about it.
That was the bright spot.
So I got a little bit of the backstory on this tournament Connor had before anybody else did, because I called him on the way home. I had to know everything about it, and Connor and I fished together quite a bit, and it's one of the fun things about having a group of buddies that you fish with and you all compete. We're constantly bouncing ideas off of each other. We're talking about how we caught them, what we could have done different. We're breaking down tournaments literally as soon as they get done. After my BFL the first 5 phone calls were the guys that I fit. Like we all talk, but so Connor has a net that's full of holes in it. Yeah. I have a net that doesn't have a handle, but Connor did something throughout the day that was really, I think, really important, and I want him to talk about why he did it, but it has to do with his hooks. Connor, go ahead and tell us about what you were doing with your hooks throughout the day.
Sure. Yeah. I was fishing around a lot of rock, bouncing the crankbait off rocks, to get them to obviously trigger a bite. So the KVDs 1.5s, they come with stock hooks that aren't too great, so I switched them out with, number 4 Mustad, triple grips. But halfway throughout the day, those hooks would definitely start to get a little dull after, bouncing on the rocks and that type of thing. And in an event like that, where you're getting 5 to 7 bites a day, I was changing my hooks out, midway through the day, just to kind of ensure, that I wasn't, going to miss anything, and, I think, after that first fish, I fished pretty clean. I was, switching out the trebles, just taking my time with these fish. I was fortunate enough to get them in the boat, and not a lot of them were hooked real good. I actually had one hit it, right at the boat. I played him, real good, and took my time. So able to get him in, and he actually had the crankbait wedged like vertical in his mouth. The bill to the back of the bait was just wedged in his mouth. None of the hooks were in his mouth.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, between that and then I got a couple fish that were just, hooked on the back treble, and, so, I was definitely really fortunate, and I think just changing the hooks out and, really taking my time, definitely helped out a bunch.
That's huge. That's a huge tip. I keep treble hooks. I keep them in the boat, and when I'm on that any kind of crankbait, topwater bite, man, I'm changing them whenever I'm real good using my fingernails, and I don't use the pliers. As long as it's not raining, right. I change those hooks out real quick. Right. Your fingernails get soft in the rain. But no, that was tremendous. I love that you guys are talking and sharing information. I love that about being in a club. Talk to me. You're in Five Alive. It's like a giant club. It's like a club that we used to see back in the day. And tell me about your experience. Obviously you enjoy being part of the club.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So that was my 3rd year fishing with Five Alive. When I first started, they probably had half, trolling motor lakes. The club was pretty big. It wasn't as big as it was now. And it seems like, every year we're getting bigger and bigger. This year, I think we had around 100 members. Wow. And we're really moving towards, big water. I think we only had 1 or 2 trolling motor lakes on there this year. But for the most part, it's big water. The guys who run the club do a really, really good job. They're always taking, information, from the guys, just to try to make the club better, make everybody happy. It's a really good learning experience. There's some really, really good fishermen. I've learned a ton these past 3 years. So, I mean, it's a great club to be, a boater in. You're very competitive against the other boaters. There's a lot of guys with 20, 30 years of experience that, are absolute hammers, that they put their time in. They're amazing fishermen, and I'm always learning something from them. But it's also a really great club if you don't have a boat. You can get paired with a rider, or the rider gets paired with the boater. So if you're just getting into it, it's a great club, just to kind of learn. You get paired with a bunch of different guys. You see tidal water, reservoir, South Jersey, North Jersey lakes. We fish, a lot out of state. We fish Candlewood, Champlain, the Delaware. So, I mean, it's a great club, especially if you're just getting into it. And it's also a great club if you're, an experienced angler, trying to stay competitive and,
Mm-hmm. Well, it's, talk to me about like sharing of information, because BTC lies.
What? I'm the most honest of every single one in this room when it comes to fishing, and it's to a fault. But damn it, Pete, that's a lot.
Well, it's funny if it's not true, but
It's just funny, but it's not true.
Like that's one of the stereotypes about being in a club is, and I've been part of some of these organizations where they don't share information. You know, they're tough about it. It sounds like that's not the case where you're at.
Well, I mean, the guys are super, super competitive. You know, during the tournament, during practice, you know, I mean, we still, you know, have a good time. You know, we talk about our day, but, you know, after the tournament's over, you know, the guys talk. Most of the guys like to just kind of talk about their day, you know, explain everything that they were doing. So it's, you know, it's great to learn in that way because, you know, I mean, during the tournament, it's game on, you know, it's not, you know, nobody's telling anybody how they're catching them, but, you know, they're talking about their day and, you know, but after the tournament's over, a lot of guys are pretty open with it. And, you know, it's a club, you know, we're here to, you know, get better, you know, help each other get better, you know, and, so, I mean, it's a great, you know, great club to be a part of. And, you know, definitely happy I, you know, have spent the last 3 years with them. So
congratulations on your second win in a row. I think that's 10 grand now you've won in these events.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. And
Pete, his wins actually, I think all the lake, well, his biggest wins lately, all the bodies of water, I think you have a pretty good connection with actually. Hudson River, Potomac River, Lake Champlain, because Champlain is where he won the 3-day state team qualifier tournament for the nation.
Right.
So you guys might need to have a separate phone call and talk a little bit.
Yo, Pete Jr.
Well, we will. We have to. They're my three. I miss the Hudson River. Oh my gosh, I miss it. They since they put a 15-inch size limit on the Hudson, it has put the kibosh on bringing tournaments there, and it's absolutely one of my favorites in all seasons. And yeah, you're winning on my favorite bodies of water. So it's awesome. We need to hook up. And you know what? I'm going to see you most likely. Big announcement on Sunday. I'm going to participate in the Five Alive Delaware River tournament.
Wow.
Yeah. Taking place this weekend.
I wish I could be there. I'm having a little Halloween party on Saturday, so I don't know if I'll be in any shape to be
Come
there.
on.
We'll see.
Just you can just show up in your costume. You don't even need to change.
We've done that before out there after parties at Ike's.
Yep, absolutely. Well, congratulations to you. Congratulations to Five Alive for all the things that you're doing for fishermen and in the Federation Nation. And appreciate you giving us the scoop on the Potomac River, Connor, and wish you the best of luck.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, buddy.
Thanks for hanging out, man. And
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was a great win, and we appreciate you and Five Alive, participating with Bash University and being part of our program, and we're happy to support a club like that is so committed to growing the sport and teaching fishermen, helping fishermen learn and grow.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna call something real quick here before we get off of him. I'm gonna call him as somebody to watch because how many years has it been? Probably like 3 to 4 years until now. He's somebody that I've always had local competition with every single derby I fished.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he can catch him, man.
Yeah, he can catch him.
Yep.
Just
want to throw it out there. Go ahead, Pete. Sorry.
That's
he's
Greg's top pick.
Cool.
Yeah, it is. That's
hot off the presses.
That's one of my. I would say that's probably in South Jersey guys that I have fished against. He's somebody that I always have to watch at the scales every time I weigh in. For sure. And Rich.
That's saying a lot. That's saying a lot because you're a hammer here in South Jersey.
According to Rich, I am.
Well, yeah, it is. Greg's that guy for me. Every time I see him at the scales, I'm like, damn it.
Oh, well, we'll look for him. I mean, we got a history of bringing him on. BTC was just reminding me we had the Lee brothers on Ike Lives before they were really the Lee brothers.
That's right.
Hey.
I take great pride in some of those chances we did back in the day, and we still do.
You should be a scout, Brian.
I'm telling you, that's what I
Yep.
do.
Speaking
Don't
of
just
which,
go for the big names over here.
we have an Ike Live Friday night Halloween edition.
Yes.
So you
Yes,
must.
Halloween special. Jimmy Houston's our guest of honor, and
that's awesome.
It's going to be a blast, man. Been trying to get Jimmy on for a while. Almost had him in studio last year. I was working on getting him in studio to be a surprise for Mike, but it just couldn't put it together. But we're not doing in studios now, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a good time.
Can you guess what the Ike Live cast is going to be dressed as?
Yes.
It's always a sport. What were we last year, Brian?
You guys were at a show, weren't you?
Yeah, we were. I don't know. I was like a fox or something.
A fox?
I was I was a raccoon. We were the Avengers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I wore the fox mask the following weekend on the river. We were boxing on. Yeah.
Is that the one that I high sticked you with the net?
Yeah, that was the first time we lost a 5-pounder.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Let's pull in here and catch a 4-pounder. It's a 5. We don't want that one.
Maybe you guys shouldn't fish together no more.
It's probably what's going to happen. I think I'm stuck fishing myself.
Yeah.
Is what it
No,
is.
we're due. Brian and I are due. We've our last couple tournaments we've had, we figure out a way to lose the giants that are the first ones to bite throughout the day. So next time it happens, that sucker's coming in the boat.
They owe us.
You guys are fishing together this weekend?
No.
Oh, you're not fishing together now?
No.
Following weekend?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Ooh, he don't know. Uh-oh. He's kicking you to the curb, dude.
I'm already lined up for the next few weekends.
Oh, sorry, Brian. You're
No,
out.
I'm fishing by myself in the little boat.
Good move.
Are you?
Really?
We'll talk after this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Good for you. Nice.
I got it. I got to dig myself out of this.
Well, you know what, Brian, you got to let yourself off the hook. That was a win, brother.
Well,
that was a win. And
you
you
found the
and
fish.
you also got to take a little punishment. Would you get 45 minutes of sleep the night before you lost 5 fish?
I did. Yeah, and then it was.
Come on.
It was
Come
a rough
on.
weekend.
Get to bed.
I
Come on.
think it.
I can't sleep.
I think
I'm too
it had-
excited to go out and lose fish and be disappointed.
I think it had more to do with the years of this Senko bashing. The first bite comes on a Senko, and it's a 5.5-pounder, and it hangs them on a washer on a dock.
And then it just sits there and thrashes. It felt like forever. It came up at least twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in all, it's probably like 6 seconds. But
Next time?
It felt like an eternity.
I forget. I'm not going to say it. Just
What?
go. Next.
Open the bail.
Maybe.
Trust me, I know. I'm a veteran. I've been in this spot, and I didn't do it. I know. It was at that point, like, and then it was over. Anyhow,
Sounds like Riz might be onto something. Like psychologically, like you're sabotaging yourself because you don't want the Senko to have anything to do with
I
your
set
win.
the hook in a fish and kept it on there with it hung up over rope. The hook wasn't coming out.
Next time, throw a Senko on a bait caster.
What it is it's a it was just a situation. Rich is covering water. I'm in the back with a Senko. There's pilings everywhere. It happens. You know what I mean? By the time a Senko takes its long ass to get to the bottom, you're already around that piling. You know what I mean, Pete?
Yeah.
It's a tough deal. And really it speaks to the successful co-anglers because they're in that situation all the time. And that's what it really, because I was, I'm in that kind of co-angler position in the back with a Senko or drop shot. So it's they've figured out how to not get in that position that I was in.
Right. And how about Cody's co-angler? I don't know if you watched it, but oh my God, he had 3 fish for almost 8 pounds behind Cody on the last day of that tournament. Man, that he was doing a good job because Cody was moving at 100 miles an hour, and he's figured out how to get enough in some of those bigger ones. But speaking of co-anglers,
I got him on the queued up.
You got him queued up?
Yeah.
It's time. It's time. We bring on professional fish head, program manager for Bass University TV.
This is my first time being on with Justin.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yep. Yeah, first time.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at him smiling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. First time with GP. What's up, guys?
What's up, man?
It's good to have you. Good to have you. We had a fun time with Cody Bird, and it sent us a little bit long. It was just a lot of fun to talk to him.
He was great.
Oh yeah, I couldn't stop listening, man. It's been a great show so far. Connor's really impressed me. Just a great show. But man, I want to get to this. We got a pros panel tonight. Professional Fish Heads pros panel.
Ooh.
Not doing a top 5. I'm excited, but I got to move fast because we had 31 participants on my pros panel today. 31 guys got back to me. Appreciate you guys being part of the All Bass University instructors. And the topic for tonight that was posed to them. So Pete, GDP, I'm going to want to hear your answers at the end of all this.
Uh-oh.
But you guys get to chew on it and hear 31 answers. So what I gave them, I said, you guys are going upriver on your local body of water. So, know where these guys are from. If you know where they're from, kind of hear and expect that they're at their local body of water. So that gives us the variety of answers. You're going upriver on your local body of water right now. You get to glue one rod in your hand. What bait is on the end of that rod? And in typical pro fashion, most of them gave me more than one answer. So, that's great. But, let's dive into it. Our pal, the big unit, JT Kinney, said he's tying on a shallow crankbait.
Okay.
My buddy Rob Jordan over here, our Bass U on water trainer over at Lake Lanier, he's tying on a Texas rig Zinkers, Cinco style bait, or throwing a chatterbait. Brandon Polinick is tying on a 1/2 ounce flipping jig with his X-Zone Rebel Chump. So starting off with some good variety here.
Yeah. It's all over the place.
Yep. Fred Rambanis gave me a good little explanation. He said it's fall of the year where he's at. He's got big shad cruising his banks up shallow, so he's opting for a double willow spinnerbait. Kind of surprised me. I thought Fred would throw a swim bait or a frog, but
yeah,
right, yeah.
Reaching for that spinnerbait. Our pal David Williams, Cashin Tackle Warehouse Pro out of North Carolina, he's in the spinnerbait club as well. Going upriver throwing a spinnerbait. Scott Suggs said add him to the spinnerbait crowd. So 3 in a row right there. Jared Lintner out in California. I think he's on the Delta right now. He's slinging a buzzbait.
Yep.
James Watson, he's won a couple of fall events on a whopper plopper and a toad. But he's reaching for his Tackle HD Worldwide Buzzer. So another vote for buzzbait there.
Mm-hmm.
Ott Defoe is going with his 1/2 ounce pros jig. No question. Day in and day out, no matter the watercolor, he is gluing the jig in his hand. John Cruz is going with a 3/8 ounce Ike's mini flip. He said it's really hard because he wants to throw topwater this time of year and it'll work, but that jig is just too hard to beat if he's got to choose. So thanks for playing by the rules, John. And Ish, he's always got to ask follow-up questions. So,
he is such high maintenance.
We like high maintenance at Bass U. We get more information out of high maintenance.
We love Ish.
So Ish is like, am I fishing to win or am I fishing just to catch fish? And I said, well, do you ever not fish to win? And he goes, yeah, I do. I fish for checks sometimes. So when he's fishing to win, he's gluing the flipping stick in his hand. That's how he's going to win this time of year. Ish, that's pretty much going to be a Texas rig, missile baits, D-bomb. And I think he's actually said that on one of my panels before. And then if he's just going fishing up the river, he will tie on his square bill. That biggie crank that he throws. Our pal John Murray, he's throwing the plopper. He is getting the whopper plopper out and covering water. David Dudley. Well, I got to save David for last. We're going to come back to David Dudley. That's great. I almost wish he would just call in for this because we're going to have David on soon. Every time you ask this guy a question, it's just why that answer's wrong. So so I asked Jamie Hartman, and Jamie said he's throwing an Alabama rig.
What?
Oh,
Out loud, just kidding. He's going to throw a spinnerbait.
That makes more sense.
So I guess spinnerbait's his tournament option. Maybe he's throwing the A rig when it doesn't matter. Justin Atkins said there's nothing better to relate to all the bait right now than a spinnerbait. So Atkins is throwing a spinnerbait. Matt Heron, he said my jig, of course. So that was, we could kind of call that. And so I reached out to Chris Zaldane. And Zaldane, in typical seminar fashion, I'll just go ahead and read his entire text.
Oh my goodness! I know.
He did play by the rules and give us one bait, but he gave our viewers the extra goods for his upriver situation. He's reaching for the Megabass S-Crank 1.2 square bill, and he's going to target isolated laydowns and subtle rock current breaks. Doesn't matter if it's crystal clear or stained. He's got it on 15-pound fluorocarbon. A 7-to-1 reel really puts that square bill in four-wheel drive, and that is the setup where it only gets snagged and caught up in fish's mouths. He said fish both the steep banks and the ugly flat banks until they tell you which to duplicate. I thought that's the juice right there. You know, he said fish both types of banks upriver, and they'll tell you which ones they're on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's great information. Thank you, Chris.
Very detailed as usual.
Say what?
Very detailed as usual. One of our best instructors.
Absolutely. Brian Thrift, we reached out to old Thrift, and he said he's throwing the Demiki Tot spinnerbait. And I responded, I said, you eat tater tots? And he said, of course. What kind of question is that?
I could picture Brian saying that like perfectly.
Do what now?
Rooster? What?
Yeah, rooster.
Brian, now he's a game rooster.
He's a game rooster.
Oh, that was classic. All right, so our pal Charlie Hartley was on the water practicing for an open, but he took time to get back to me. And sure enough, he had both these rods rigged up on his deck, and sure enough, he was upriver. So Charlie is reaching for the KVD 1.5 square bill in real shad or a 1/4 ounce chrome and blue rattle trap.
Wow.
Is Charlie Hartley ever not fishing a tournament? Like 24/7, I think he's either in a tournament, he's practicing for a tournament.
Yes, you're correct.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
He has the retirement life of what all. Well, he's not really retired, but yeah, he has the life all tournament junkies want.
Yep.
I mean, it's like 10 tournaments a week. I think he told me over beer last year that there are some days he fishes 3 tournaments in a day.
Wow.
Huh?
Yeah, he'll fish 3 tournaments on Wednesdays and two tournaments the rest of the week. 2 tournaments a day.
Where's he
when he's down in Florida.
Florida, I guess.
Is he including washing his boat as one of those tournaments?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. How does he have time to do that?
I just never stops. I mean, he casts, he wipes down the boat, he casts, he wipes down the boat.
That's true, man.
I've seen it.
Oh, Jesus.
You've seen it, right?
He has a welcome mat before you get into his boat. He really does. Like for co-anglers, yeah, you got to wipe your feet. I swear, I saw it firsthand.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
That's awesome. Charlie's the man.
He is high strung, man. He keeps moving. You gotta love him.
Yep.
Nicest guy in fishing.
Yep. And he said to tell everybody, hey, and that he loves Bass U. Mark Zona. So I reached out to Zona, and he said, 1/2 ounce jig. Is that even a debate? Strong from Z.
I agree.
So I reached out to our pal Seth Fighter, and he just gave me 2 words.
Llama.
A shotgun.
He's duck hunting.
Yeah. He's done with bass fishing, boys. He's going bird hunting.
Shocking.
So Edwin Evers reached out to him. He said a Berkeley square bull crankbait. Cliff Crochet said he's throwing a snag-proof fat frog. He's the only guy out of 31 guys fishing a frog.
Well, that's because he lives by the equator.
He lives down there, yeah.
Exactly.
He basically lives in Cuba.
This is definitely where you live question.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Bobby Lane said it's topwater time. He's throwing the Berkeley Chapo. So another plopping style bait there. Wesley Strader, which Pete, you know all about it, where Wesley's fishing in Tennessee, and we've seen the rivers he's done. Texas Rig Zoom Z-Hog is what he's going with.
Creature bait. That's the first time a creature bait showed up on your list, Jake.
Yeah, but I consider Ish was he'll flip a creature bait. He didn't really specify, but I think he's going with the D-bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Or a
It's
destroyer.
like a creature beaver hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was Dudley.
And then there's Dudley. I can't wait to get that.
Yeah, hurry up and get the Dudley.
Brian Latimer is grabbing and reaching for a half-ounce spinnerbait or a 6-inch Texas rig straight tail worm.
That spinnerbait is showing up a lot on this
It's
list.
a fall favorite for sure.
Yeah. You know what? I thought a crankbait would lead everything, and we've got a bunch of crankbaits, but the spinnerbait really is, Pete. It's out ahead. Maybe I'll do a little total, categories list, and we'll put it out on social media, tomorrow after the show's out.
I would like that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Mike McClellan, no surprises here. He's throwing a Spro rock crawler.
I thought he might surprise us and be throwing one of his mixed sticks.
Yeah. We hadn't heard any jerk baits here yet.
No. That's a big fall bait too, and nobody's talking about that.
But we're talking upriver, so maybe a lot of guys' river scenarios are stained,
We're all talking about one bait, one choice.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay.
And
Continue.
if you ask what's on your deck, Brian Thrift's going to tell you 28 rods rigged up,
Yeah.
So John Cox, or pal John, he said he's recently been on a buzzbait kick, and he's alternating between that new Berkeley toad, that soft plastic toad that they came out with, and the Berkeley Power Swimmer. So he's alternating between a toad and a swim bait on his buzzbait. Yep, and he's been catching a lot that way, he says.
Well, he's about to win a tournament on that then. It's usually what happens.
Clint Davis is your only jerkbait guy. He's going with the Yozuri 3DB jerkbait. And I told him that he stood alone in the crowd, and he said, hey, man, I'm fishing for spots over here.
Yep.
So spotted bass guy is reaching for the jerkbait.
All right.
Jordan Lee, count him in for the buzzbait with the toad. And I think Jordan gave us some information too, detailed. I was trying to keep track. Some guys volunteered a little bit more information.
First have the Alabama game on and start chucking that buzzbait around.
Yeah. Yeah, he said cover lots of water, throw over any shallow piece of cover. He'll do it all day long. So, and another one for the buzzbait, and this one's a little interesting. Gerald Swindle, he's going with a white buzzbait, but he put an asterisk on this. He said prior to COVID 2020. Because he said this has been such a weird year that he's thrown the white buzzbait every single day for the past 4 weeks and has caught 0 fish on it. But that's his answer. If he's going over,
I agree with him. Nothing makes sense this year.
and he's still texting me complaining about how messed up the fishing is in 2020.
I agree.
I'm pretty sure G-Man's ready to be in a tree stand by now.
Yeah, I'm ready to shoot 2020.
All right. Well, that's 30 of our instructors. We really appreciate you guys.
Did we do Dudley?
No, we're going to Dudley. We are ending with Dudley. Last and definitely not the least opinionated, David Dudley. If you're watching it, he was saying he was going to watch. I'd love for him to call in and talk about this. And he said straight up no to upriver. And he's thinking tournament mode. And I can remember David Dudley being in class, starting a seminar off, causing a ruckus, saying he doesn't flip a jig like ever because of efficiency, and he goes creature baits only. He will not flip a jig, not in pitching and flipping at least, and that got him started. And he had such a strong opinion on it, and he'd about convince you. But for this, he said the reason is, and this is tournament mode Dudley here. The reason is river fish are like a 2-day catch. And now with more people heading up river, it's too crowded. Even less main lake fish will always produce 4 days of fish. So his opinion is that even, you're catching smaller weight down in the main lake, you're going to have more fish to catch over a 4-day period.
Yeah.
He had a really, really strong opinion there, and I'd love to see him go back and forth with some guys who live and die up the river this time of year.
Well, let me tell you, after all these tournaments have been won up the river, all these big finishes up the river, it's kind of like Dudley. I gotta think there's a lot of weight into what he says, and it's like Thrift. Thrift does, he reads and researches what everybody's doing to win, and he goes the other way, and because the rivers are likely going to be crowded, and get some additional pressure this time of year. So,
yeah,
I love it, man. Great list.
Great list. Okay.
Yeah, it was long. Sorry, I tried to get through it fast, but and Dudley, I gotta say, he did offer up a bait, but he's throwing it on the south end this time of year. He's going with an underspin first and foremost.
Underspin.
The underspin. Yep.
That's out of the blue. That's unusual.
Yeah, well, he's out there in Virginia, so I guess that put him on a Smith Mountain or somewhere out there. Yep. He's going down lake and throwing it.
GDP? What bait are you taking?
Well, I can tell you from my experience where I live, I grew up on a river called the Morris River, and I know I'm going to kind of go against the grain here a little bit what I'm going to say, not the bait-wise, but I can tell you, Justin, I'm going to say 2 baits, but I'm going to pick one.
Okay.
So I can tell you this from my experience on my river where I live. If you throw that buzzbait and do not put it down, you will probably catch the bigger fish on your river system. But hands down, I'm actually going to pick a 1/4 ounce black blue jig. And the reason I'm picking the smaller profile is because this time of year, the bait's a lot smaller. But I can tell you right now, you're going to win a tournament on a jig, period.
It's funny about you saying that, Greg. So, like the last couple times I've been fishing, I was fishing in Chesapeake a lot and had a tough day, and I said I need a change of scenery. I went out on the Delaware, and I'm fishing around all these shad. Mm-hmm. There's shad everywhere. I can see them. I'm sending Greg side imaging pictures, like saying, "What are these? Are these fish and everything?" And so I'm throwing a spinnerbait a lot around all these shad, and I'm not getting bites. Like I'm not catching fish. I pick up a compact black and blue jig, and on like the first flip, I crack one, twist his head open, and I look inside the fish's mouth, and there's a shad tail sticking out of his throat, and I'm like, well, they're eating shad, obviously, but I couldn't catch them on a spinnerbait, but I'm catching them on a jig. So like I get down there, I'm trying to like pull it out to see what the shad looks like, and it's real small, and the tail is black as night. Is it just that black profile of that jig that, they think it's, even though you're fishing on the bottom, kind of hopping it around, do they think that's shad?
I'm sure even in the fall, all that stuff.
It's actually like opposite day. Like there's so much shad, you got to, you're looking like a crawler, looking like something else.
2020.
And, it gets the bite because I'm jumping in there with you guys on that. I'm a 1/2 ounce small compact jig, and I'm cutting all the blue out of it. It's black. We're going black.
Straight
black on black. and that small profile, it's like the most recent trips that I've had were on the Lake Champlain in the fall. Of course, we weren't up the river, and then I was fishing on the flats down on the Chesapeake, and without a doubt, the jig was the dominant weapon in both of those trips. As the water temperature falls, I know, and here's the other thing is like, what are you good at? Where's your skill set lie? And I talked to JK about this and discovering my strengths and weaknesses. When I have that flipping stick in my hand, man, I have a good chance in the tournament, you know? So I knowing in the fall that's a good bait, knowing that I have, you know, I'm good with that technique. There's no doubt, man. I'm going to pick up that jig, pick up my flipping stick, and get after it.
No doubt.
Justin, you do something cool down there on your lakes with the jig, and that I think you're just casting out not a swim jig, just a regular jig, and you almost burn it back to the boat.
Yeah, so it's actually been a big, I mean, for the couple of big co-angler events that I've won in the fall and the two that I won boats in, a jig was a player in both. You know, I had like almost a 17-pound bag, which was a giant bag, swimming a jig. And then I caught a few key fish on the final day last year when I got to go up shallow. It's not been working well this year. I dumped 2 4.5 pounders in my last BFL regular season event. I mean, I hooked them up. That's just bad mechanics, I guess. But what I like to do is something that like I can flip and swim at the same time. And, you know, I guess these places with spots and largemouth, these lakes, like swimming the jig as fast as I possibly can, like burning it, has triggered a lot of big bites.
Right.
And that's probably what I don't know if that's what you're talking about. That's different.
That is. And like what that makes me wonder about is like the whole, you know, if they're eating shad and I don't know what color you're throwing, but you're just burning a jig through the water, and you know the skirt kind of lays down pretty tight because you're reeling it fast. I don't know how much action you're getting out of it, but like the profile stays compact. Like,
yeah,
I you know, it just makes me wonder, like, are the fish so keyed in on that size of shad that
100%,
you know, sometimes swimming that profile.
And the other thing in the South, down here in our impoundments, you know, especially like Lanier and, you know, Hartwell and Clark's Hill, these herring lakes and stuff, like bluegill get forgotten about, you know? And so when you go up shallow looking for largemouth, you're really not looking for herring eaters. So you're going to encounter what you're talking about with these 1.5 inch shad, little guys, but there's still bluegill around. And so I've always just felt like if I looked like a bluegill and targeted, you know, that. So I've actually thrown really big profile jigs. Like when the water was dirty in 2013, I reached for a mop jig and did a bluegill kind of type pattern and just burned it around, and it triggered strikes. And then in the Bassmaster Open, sadly, I lost one that was, you know, 6 or 7 pounds out of a laydown, but she came up on the same thing, you know, out of the tip of a laydown, and it's looking like a bluegill. So I don't know if there's something there with they'll eat both, but
well, you know, that's a great technique. We're going to be rooting for you in the All-American in a couple weeks, JK.
Awesome.
Trying to win another boat doing that, and I also want to invite people to go look at John Cox. Remember, we filmed with JC and watched him burn that jig.
Yeah,
you remember that?
Yep.
Oh, it's a Florida deal, man. Those guys are so good at it. You know, that's where I kind of picked it up from, watching you guys fish the FLWs down in Florida all those years, Pete. You guys are burning everything over the top of the water. You know, swim baits and jigs and buzz toads and everything, and everything's coming fast.
Why not throw a swim jig?
That's what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, JK, I thought you were burning mop jigs and all kinds of other stuff.
Oh, yeah. I use when I'm in my setting, I have a lot of wood around me and stuff. I don't have like all that grass. So technically I feel like I get better deflection and it's more efficient when you have a different style flipping jig.
Yeah.
You know, like that swim jig that everybody knows about on those grass impoundments is not very efficient when you're swimming it around docks and lay downs and dog fennel and stuff like that.
Yeah, I had a swim jig that has, man, I can't think of whose it was. I had just gotten it off Tackle Warehouse. It's got a blade on the back of it. And
now my trolling motor has a bit of a squeak to it.
Is that from that?
I'm just joking.
But yeah,
it's from getting all your snags out. That's what it's from. Grinding it.
Yeah, that thing was like 30 seconds, and that was it. So I put this swim jig on, thinking, all right, you know, they were really keen on a spinnerbait down the flats a couple weeks ago. This past weekend, not too much, but they had been. Well, you know, looking to maybe throw a jig in around the laydowns with some flash to it. So I tried to flip that thing. It didn't last but maybe 5 minutes and 13 snags, and I just sacrificed it. I was like, that's it. I've had it.
No.
But angrily gave it right to that last laydown. Have it. I don't want you anymore.
One?
What
do you only bought one?
I did.
You got to buy two.
Well, you know, it was a trial. I'd never, you know, I
What
don't
if
know.
it worked?
Well, then I'd go buy two.
Well, there's a lot of aftermarket stuff like
Yeah, you can connect it. Yeah.
yeah, you can buy that stuff to add to your jig.
Well,
you know.
yeah. I mean, and I think that could be a deal, throwing on a jig with an actual weed guard and putting a blade on the back of it.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know,
Yeah.
nice little.
Maybe it's
foam.
already being done.
It probably
Hey,
is.
what are you talking about? You're talking about that, like those Zappu things?
No, there's a Zappu, yeah.
Zappu's got the double blades that you can thread onto your jigs.
Isn't what we're talking about basically just a spinnerbait?
Yeah.
It's a skirt
Well,
with blades.
Well, it's behind the swim jig.
No, they're subtle, Riz. It's a much subtler approach to it. It gives you a little flash.
You fish it in a cover too, I would think. You know.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't-
yeah, getting it covered. Yeah.
And speed is key, though. I mean, check it out, guys. You check out John Cox over at Bashu TV. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, go over to bashu.tv. It's 30 days free. Use the code BashuLive30, and you get yourself 30 days free. Come over and check out all the great seminar content, the seminar training that we have over there. And I'm going to say it again. Go check out Ott Defoe's Fishing Up the River. That's what we're talking about. And he's amazing at it. A tremendous amount of experience. His house is up the river in Tennessee. He lives up the river. So and you know, he's an amazing instructor. So go check that out. And you know, for Bash University TV. We got a couple more things we're going to cover tonight, guys. We got a trivia question coming up. We've got a Facebook like and share. Shout out to Ed Cowan, Sean Forrest, and Pat. It's good to Pat Renwick featured on Bassmaster.com.
How about that? Congratulations, Pat.
Yeah. Congratulations, Pat.
Yeah,
that was great. Great.
You're kind of a big deal.
What was that, JK?
I was just telling Pat he's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, man. And
Yeah.
he's got a big show tomorrow night with Aaron Martin, and a huge giveaway on their like and share. A big giveaway.
Tuning into that.
Yeah, tomorrow night. Check it out. Straight Cast.
All right. Invite everybody to go check that stuff out. And GDP, do you you know, you've got some tools and some tricks.
Yeah.
What do you got for us tonight?
I'm going to call this one controlled variable. That's what I'm going to call this one. So this one kind of goes out to kind of my true punchers out there, or guys that are wanting to get into punching. One of my buddies that's actually really good at it, he's the one that taught me this trick, so I can't take the credit for it. So typically, Brian, we got to get a zoom on this or something.
I'm on it.
There we go. So it's just your, typical Schnell knot set up here. That's what I got in front of me. I know it's probably really hard to see because I can barely see it on there. So one of the most typical things that I used to do it myself, I don't do it no more because I learned. How many times have, you guys that actually snell things, whether it's fluorocarbon or if it's braid, have you ever flipped in there or punched something, set the hook, and you come back with just a bobber stop? Where you've actually broken the braid or have broken your fluorocarbon. How many of you guys have actually said, okay, I broke it off at the knot. You've probably heard that, right?
Yep.
We've all done that.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, sometimes it's because you could tie the knot wrong. Yes, that's a possibility. But I can tell you the main reason why that's happening, in my opinion, is because what everybody's doing, they're doing this. They're taking their scissors and they're cutting the knot off the hook, okay? And if you've ever cut a knot off the hook and actually went back and looked at your hook after you cut it off, you're putting gouges in that metal. And if you're using braid, what's one thing braid is not good at? Rubbing against things.
Yeah, it cuts.
Yeah, braid is not good for abrasion. So if you're over here and you're cutting your, if you're getting a snell off, you actually got to really cut in to get a snell off with braid.
That's true.
Big time. So when you're doing that, I should have brought a hook. Actually, I can do it to a hook if you want me to. When you do that to a hook with scissors, dude, I'm telling you, if you look at it at a microscope, it's probably like just gouged the whole way down. And you go to set that hook with a big giant rod, it's a 65-pound braid. You'll break that braid right off because not only just from the hook set, but you actually cinch down that snell, it's going across that like speed bumps to get tight, and it's actually cutting your braid. So one of the things that I've learned from my buddy, like I said, even if you're tying a Palomar, you got to be careful. If you cut a Palomar and you rub that thing right across the very top of your scissors, you're still gouging that hook. You just can't really see it with your naked eye, but you really truly are. So you got to be careful. So the way to do it actually is with a lighter. If you're a big time puncher, you have to do it this way. And I know a lot of these have this hook has been used and retied multiple times by me. Every company has its own kind of keeper. This is Hayabusa. It's got just like a kind of a rubber keeper on top of hard rubber. And you got to be careful with lighter because you can burn it. And don't get me wrong, I have burned them and ruined hooks too by doing this. But I use the pliers basically just to cover up my keeper, just to protect it. And then from there is all you got to do really is honestly just burn it off everything in front of you. Good, Brian.
That is awesome. I never thought to do that.
Yes, and the
So
reason
this is just for removing snell knots.
Yeah.
snell knots or any other kind of thing, because if you're gonna gouge it with your hooks, I'm telling you, if you're a big time puncher, you are going to lose fish. It might not happen your first or second time that you're doing it, but I promise you, if you retie, let's say 2 or 3 times in the course of the day, I know sometimes you don't retie the whole day with braid, but you're going to retie the night after, or you're going to reuse a hook. If you go to take that line off with scissors, you are going to eventually lose either a winning fish in a tournament or just break a fish off.
Right.
So as I'm telling you is you just want to burn that braid off to an extent, get it hot to where it kind of boils up. You got to be careful sometimes too. The hook can get hot, and then from there just grab your pliers. All I'm doing is just going to grab the braid itself. I'm actually opposite hand here. But that's all you want to do. You want to take off your braid by doing it that way. You do not want to cut that hook. Now it's brand new again. Never touched, never gouged.
That's very cool, man.
That's the way you want to do it.
Yep, makes sense.
So controlled variable. That's all that really is.
That is amazing. Not to mention the fact that try getting that snell knot off with a pair of scissors.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You have to just keep on grinding at it with scissors to get it off. That's what everybody does.
True.
This hook's brand new. This hook's been used. There's no gouges whatsoever on that hook because I burned it off.
Yep.
And my keeper's perfect.
Yeah.
Not burnt, nothing.
Very cool.
Here.
Yep.
That was awesome. I mean, there are very few times do I hear something I haven't heard before.
Yep.
And that is a tremendous tool to get the braid off. That's really good.
The guy that taught me, I got to give him a shout out. So it's actually one of your guys. It's Garrett Paulette.
Okay.
He's also Elite Series guy.
Yep.
He's like giantly huge into punching. He loves it. It's one of his favorite things to do. He taught me.
Yep.
So just passing it along.
Okay.
Makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Garrett. Thank you, GDP.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
That is a good one, and I will take advantage of that because I keep a lighter in the boat. For all the smoking I do, and for when I replace rod tips, I gotta have it in the
good
boat.
call, Pete.
I go through a lot of rod tips.
Yep.
And so it's always available to me. But man, I never thought to do that.
Yep. Yeah. Check your hooks in your box beat. I guarantee there's a bunch that are probably pretty much beat up.
Hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
How about bad tungsten weights?
I think that's a thing of the past anymore, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're all beveled, or they have sheets.
Inserts, yeah.
Unless you're getting them really cheap from that place.
Yeah.
Right.
That we won't speak of.
Yeah, those can, Ish gave a seminar at Bash U, and obviously about punching. He's done that a lot, and he refuses to throw a weight that doesn't have a sheath in it, no matter what. It's so important to him. But great tip, GDP.
Yeah, that's a great tip, man. I'm thinking back to a couple lost fish.
Yep.
Ombraid with a snell knot, and I'm like, I assumed it was a tungsten weight, but it could have been.
That's what it was.
Like you said.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Brian, do you want to read the trivia question tonight?
I can't read. Hey, JK, you got to run, bud. I know it's your wife's birthday.
Yeah, man, I better.
All right,
you guys enjoyed it tonight. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, dude, thank you.
Today, your trick there, GDP.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna apply it myself.
Good deal.
Great job, JK. I'll catch up with you tomorrow, buddy.
Sounds good. See you guys. Have a great night.
Happy birthday, Kat.
Thanks.
Yes, happy birthday, Catherine. Rich.
All right.
Rich, you got this?
Yes.
I can't read.
Okay. I can read.
My man.
The reading champion. This trivia question is provided by Ken Duke. Shout out to Ken Duke. Woo. We love him. Yep. What state has the most categories for black bass records? For example, NJ has 2.
Ooh.
Largemouth and smallmouth. What state has the most categories for black bass records?
Yes.
I don't know.
So I'm thinking there's like.
Well, don't get hollered at again.
I know you. I don't care. I'm gonna have fun with it. There's the Guadalupe bass. There's a shoal bass. There's a spotted bass.
I only know 3.
We have a winner.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
Pete,
God.
you gave it away that quick. That's super impressive. Wow. Wow.
Wait. Hey, ask the winner if they know the number. Never mind. That's tough to do.
Well, let me guess. Let me guess. We have a winner.
Yeah, we have a winner. Yeah.
And I did not read the question. I saw the question. I didn't read it on purpose so that I could guess. I think it's Texas.
That would be correct, Pete.
Yes.
That would be correct. And the winner of that with the correct answer of Texas is Slater. Congratulations, Slater. Maybe Kelly Slater is watching the podcast right now.
Yeah.
If anybody knows him, professional surfer. Kelly Slater watching Bash U Live.
Pete,
But congratulations.
What's the number? How many categories of bass does Texas have hold records for?
I just did 5. I'm thinking. I think it's 5.
The answer is, I believe it's 8.
It's 8. It's an ocho.
Yeah.
Ocho.
Another 3.
Wow.
I'm looking at it now. Guadalupe X smallmouth.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. That's a weird category.
Crossbreed.
Guadalupe spotted. Okay, the cross and spotted smallmouth. Okay, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah. 8.
But I remember having Ken Duke on the show and talking about Texas and the Guadalupe bass. I remembered that.
Can you weigh in a Guadalupe bass in a tournament in Texas?
Can you? Yeah.
I don't know. I guess.
Yes, you can. Black bass.
Huh.
Black bass species. They're all black bass species, and they're all legal to weigh in.
Wow.
But they all have different length limits. It depends, The shoal
that
bass.
would be a real trivia question. Has anybody ever won a tournament on Guadalupe bass? How many Guadalupe bass have made it to the weigh-in scales in Bassmaster events?
As I recall, that they don't get big. They don't. The shoal bass. There were some lakes where shoal bass. They had reports of them getting big, and of course, spotted bass have won tournaments before. But I don't know the answer to the question. But guys, last chance. If you're watching us over on Facebook, and I see some people over there, like us, and share us. We're going to be doing the Facebook like and share giveaway. Look, Ed Cowan's comment over there. I love. He's like, Black Magic. We don't need no stinking blue. Cut the blue out. Sean Forrest says it too. Bass don't see blue anyhow.
Hey, shout out to Sean Forrest for showing up to the weigh-ins the other day at the Chesapeake. And
it's cool.
Yeah, it was cool hanging out with them, and thanks for the drinks.
Right on.
Outstanding. Very, very, very
good. The first
good.
one, the second one, and the third one.
He's a game rooster.
Game rooster, man.
That's Sean Forrest. He's a game rooster.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna work that into so many conversations over the next couple weeks.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I was running that pattern like a game rooster.
Thank you, Cody, for sharing all your Texisms with us.
But yeah, by the way, I messaged with him. So I said, hey, Cody, you were fantastic. We had so much fun talking to you. Please send me your mailing address because, we send our guests something afterwards. How did you even know I was going to be on that? ? That was his response. I've been staring at it for an hour. And I don't even know how to respond to that.
He must think you're from the newspaper again.
Yeah, he still thinks I'm from a Texas newspaper. So I don't know how to respond.
We will leave that in your hands.
Oh, I need more time. He's got me. I'm locked up.
That's funny. Well, Riz, I think it's time for us to give out our like and share contest. I see you're busy over there. Are you ready to give the winner a prize?
I am. Tonight's Facebook like and share winner with the $50 Missile Jigs and Flambeau pack is Simon Zaire. Simon Zaire, thank you for watching Bash University Live, sharing our podcast from Heston, Kansas. Watching all the way out in Heston, Kansas. That's pretty awesome. So congratulations, Simon. You got a $50 Missile Jigs Flambeau pack headed your way.
That's
Missile
awesome.
Missile Jigs, one of the picks for fishing in the fall by John Cruz.
Yeah. Right.
Using the mini flip.
Home cooking.
Yeah. Home cooking. Man, that was fun. It's a great show. Loved Cody. JK. Loved his piece. That was so much fun.
Yep.
GDP. Showing me something. Oh, man, that was amazing.
I try.
Yeah, that was good stuff, man. It was good all around. A lot of fun.
Yep. Shout out to Connor.
Shout out to Connor.
$5,000 air again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking everybody's money.
And the Federation Nation, going strong in this part of the country, and want to encourage that all over the country. I hope it comes back to the prominence that it once had. I'd love to see Bass and all the people that are participating in that just jump in. I personally would love to see the TBF and the Nation join somehow and get back together as one. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be.
Brian, do we have anything else on the agenda?
I think that's a wrap. Again, guys, Straight Cast tomorrow night. Aaron Martin's a huge like and share giveaway. Might be like $500 huge. So check that out. And then again this Friday, Ike Live, Jimmy Houston, can't miss. And
Buddy Cipoletti.
And Buddy Cipoletti's going to be in studio with us.
Whoa.
And yeah, Bud.
Excited about that.
And then again, Bass U's going to be back on Tuesday. So that's it, man.
We'll see you right back here next Tuesday night. Happy Halloween. Enjoy it. And thanks for watching, guys. Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Woo.
Game Rooster.